युवा देश है। विश्व में हमने युवाओं की आईटी एनर्जी के माध्यम से अपना एक रुतबा खड़ा किया है और भारत इसके बात के लिए गर्व कर सकता है। दुनिया में हम आंख में आंख मिला करके बात कर सकते हैं। और ये मेरा साफ मैं हमेशा कहता आया हूं, आईटी प्लस आईटी इज इक्वल टू आईटी। इंफॉर्मेशन टेक्नोलॉजी प्लस इंडियन टैलेंट इज इक्वल टू इंडिया टुमारो।
Good morning, everyone. This is Harshal Desai, part of editorial team at Elets Technomedia Private Limited. I welcome you all to our next series of Elets Innovation Talk. Today, we are glad to mention that we have Mr. Amit Ghosh, who is APAC head at R3 with us, and we will be conducting this exclusive interview with Mr. Amit Ghosh for Elets Innovation Talk. Welcome, Mr. Ghosh, to Elets Innovation Talk, a dedicated series of interviews which has been started by Elets Technomedia Private Limited.
Thank you for having me here.
Thank you so much, sir. We are really grateful to you for taking time out from your busy schedule and participating in our series of interviews with different leaders from across the country and from across the globe. So I'll just take 1 minute to introduce Elets. Elets is one of leading media organization based in Noida, and we are working in 4 core verticals, which includes BFSI, healthcare, education, and governance. So with this, we'll start the interview with Mr. Amit Ghosh. And my first question to Mr. Ghosh is that I would request you to introduce R3 briefly to our audiences, what this organization is all about, what are the services you are offering to, which are the industries you are serving, and which are the countries your operations are active in.
Great, and thanks again for having me here. So, as you said, we are a global organization founded and started in New York in 2015, with offices currently across 15 countries. Our biggest hubs globally are in New York, London, and Singapore, and a growing office and a presence in India as well, in Mumbai. We are an enterprise software company primarily focusing on blockchain and distributed ledger technology. What that really means is we bring various industry players together on common data sharing and multi-party workflow platforms so that they can interact with each other, reduce the pain of settlement, reconciliation, fraud happening between 2 parties or multi-parties when they interact with each other. We work across various industry verticals. BFSI is one of our primary industry verticals. We actually originally started as a consortium of financial institutions in New York. And our group of financial institutions in our community is over 100 right now, including many central banks as well and commercial banks. So we have deep roots in the financial services world. So we have naturally focused a lot of our work on the banking industry. In the last couple of years, we have seen a large demand for our distributed ledger platform, which is called Corda, in the capital markets industry as well. So we work with leading exchanges and infrastructure providers like NASDAQ, like the Swiss Stock Exchange, and many others around the globe. And finally, we also work in areas of insurance and supply chain. We have the largest consortiums in the insurance industry built on distributed ledger technology are using our platform, Corda. So there's one out of Europe and one out of US. And even in India and parts of Asia, we have had a lot of use cases where the industry has come together to solve common problems, whether it be fraud or something else. So we see a lot of demand. In the supply chain area, I think blockchain has a huge role to play, especially if you think about all the challenges which the supply chain world and the supply chains faced in the last year when COVID disrupted everything. So we bring resilience to the supply chains. We enable data sharing and digitization of documents across various parties in the supply chain, which really helps in making supply chains a lot more efficient. So we are working with companies and their group of suppliers and buyers in solving such problems. So overall, our focus primarily has been bringing the benefits of the blockchain or the distributed ledger technology to various industry ecosystems. Recently, we have also launched a multi-party confidential computing platform called Conclave. This really secures data when it's being used, and this has huge applications in market aggregation as well as fraud detection. So we can talk a lot more about that. But that's who we are, and as I said, we have a growing presence in Asia Pacific, headquartered in Singapore, but a large team out of India as well.
Right. So BFSI is one of the area that you mentioned, and my first question, second question to you would be, how this BFSI sector and especially insurance sector reacted to the disruption caused by the pandemic, and what has been the impact? Your views on this?
Yeah, so look, I think the pandemic was something we have never seen before of such great nature. So I think it disrupted the way we do business. It disrupted the way we interact with our counterparties, our suppliers, our buyers, our whoever we interact with, and our customers interact with. So what we saw is a couple of key themes emerging from the pandemic as a result of the pandemic. First, clearly, many companies realize that they're not digital enough. And I think they have digitized parts of their business process workflows. They have digitized part of their systems. But many times, even within a large institution, the systems don't communicate with each other very well. Or especially when you're one institution is interacting with another institution, it's quite broken many times. Many things still, and going back to the insurance industry, many things still happen via email. It's hard to believe in today's day and age. But so what we saw is, there is a realization that digital is critical for future success and for us to weather a future pandemic, because pandemics, as predicted by many people in the world, this is not the last one, right? So we will see a few more. There will be more vaccinations and more prevention, but I think the risk of pandemics remain. So we saw a realization, and as a result, what we have seen is many companies, not just in the financial services world, but outside as well, are rapidly digitizing their workflows, how they manage data, how they share data, how they ensure that their data is protected. And I think we would continue to see that trend become stronger and stronger. And finally, I would say, from a blockchain perspective specifically, we saw a lot of incoming demand for what we are building on in R3. So, both Corda Enterprise, which is our primary distributed ledger platform, as well as Conclave, which is our confidential computing platform, have seen very strong demand in the last 12 months because we are really solving pain points which have plagued the industry over the last many years, even decades at times. And we are digitizing not just what is manual or paper-based, but also digitizing workflows and business flows between two institutions or multiple institutions. So I think we saw very positive growth in the last 12 months.
Right. The more we try to adopt digital technologies in our operation, there is always a risk of digital fraud as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how can blockchain combat digital fraud and issues related to fraud detection and risk prevention? If you can please share your views in detail on this point.
Yes, and it is a very important topic, more so in today's day and age, as data becomes more and more critical, and ensuring that each organization can maintain privacy and security of the data,
Yes.
and especially when they share with each other as part of business workflows. So if you think about blockchain has some very strong characteristics which enable better fraud detection and fraud prevention. Right? So first of all, blockchain is one of the core parts of blockchain is cryptography, which essentially means that everything that moves between two parties is encrypted always, right? So I think that in itself enhances the chances of this not getting hacked or not getting attacked during transit. So that's number one. The second, blockchain from the design principles, blockchain tracks data from the source. So when the first data set is created, and every subsequent update is cryptographically shared and sealed and then stored. So that is what blockchain enables, and what Corda enables is that we do not allow any party to tamper with the data which has already been stored. So every new data or every new interaction is recorded as an update rather than a overwrite of existing data. So the tamper-proof part of what blockchain is really powerful. And finally, blockchain is really beautiful when multiple parties come together and share information. So if you think about fraud detection is actually predictive analytics in many ways, right? Because you're looking at a large set of data, and then you're trying to predict if I am a bad actor or a certain institution is a bad actor when they're interacting with you. So the better the data set, the better your predictive analytics will be. What blockchain allows is that, and in fact, our platform Conclave allows even more so, is really the ability to collate data across various parties and then analyze it in a manner which is very secure, not just when data is moving, but also when data is being used. So to give a real example, right? For example, many in the insurance world, you often encounter fraud where, as an individual, you can claim for the same mishap multiple times, right? So you can go to multiple insurers, and like you may have had an accident once, but you can claim 10 times from 10 insurers if you orchestrated it that way. Or you can actually create fake events and actually try to claim for fake events, right? What blockchain and Conclave allow for is really for these insurers in the industry to communicate with each other, so that they can share the information of the claims. They know in a secure and private manner who has a policy where, and what data is being shared. So the industry comes together on such scenarios and prevents multi-party or multi-claims, which is a common issue, especially in India, both in the life insurance space, but also in places like auto insurance, right, and travel insurance. So blockchain has a lot of good merits and some key characteristics which differentiate it against any other technology available for fraud and risk management.
Right. Okay, great. Now, sir, one thing before I ask you about your confidential computing platform, I'd like to, we have been talking a lot on blockchain technologies. So just one question that, comes to my mind is, as a country, as a country in India, do you think we have been able to make good use of blockchain technologies in our BFSI institutions?
I think we have made very positive progress, especially R3 as an organization, but I think the industry as a whole has made very positive progress in India. So the most of the leading financial institutions, especially the banks, are leveraging blockchain both for internal applications as well as for some industry use cases. So we work with, for example, ICICI closely because they use our technology for their payment solution between ICICI banks across the globe. So it's an internal solution, but it is effectively enabling faster payments and reducing the clearing and settlement time between their own entities across the globe. So we see use cases like that. We know that the industry, especially the top 10 to 15 financial institutions, are coming together for a blockchain consortium as well. It's been in the making for a while, as we are aware, and I see that's a very positive trend for the industry. We also know that entities like NPCI have also taken a very good look at blockchain as a technology platform to enable faster clearing and settlement and other use cases. So, and confidentially, I think we are in discussions and in projects with various market infrastructure players in the capital market space in India as well. We're working on our platform to build better digital solutions for their existing ecosystem of clients. So overall, if I look at the BFSI space in India, I think it's very well progressed. Have we done enough, and have we maxed out? I don't think so. I think there's a long way to go. I think there is various different scenarios where blockchain will be used in India, especially, and with the likes of our government taking a lead in forming policy papers, as well as doing a lot of deep research across different institutions within the central government and regional governments. I think we'll see not just a commercial pull for the technology, but also a government or a public sector push for the technology adoption. So I feel very bullish about our future in India.
Great to know all these initiatives. And yes, you're right. I mean, government in India is there are some states which are very positively thinking about blockchain technologies, and they are trying to, and many of them are already implemented in some of their projects in their state. So now, how this computing platform that you launch, Conclave, is going to change the game? What is the significance of Conclave?
Yes, that's a great question. So, Conclave is a platform which we launched just a couple of weeks ago. It's been in the build for a little bit, and we are very excited about the future of Conclave. So, first of all, what is Conclave? Conclave is a multi-party confidential computing platform. What that really means is it allows for data when, let's say multiple parties are pooling data and sending it to a market aggregator firm, whether it be a credit bureau type firm, or whether it be an analytics firm, or whether it be a fraud analytics firm, right? So today, when that data is sent, it is usually encrypted, and it's unpacked when it reaches the analytics firm or the credit bureau, for example. But then, there is no security how that data is getting used, right? What Conclave enables is for me as the data owner. So if I am a bank and I'm sending my data to a credit bureau or an analytics firm, for me to know exactly how that data is getting used, and for me to be very confident that the analytics firm cannot abuse my data, cannot share my data with another institution, and will just use the data for doing the analysis as agreed between me and that firm. So effectively, what it allows by using Intel's SGX technology, which is a trusted enclave technology, what it allows for is really that multi-party confidential computing in a very secure manner, and it provides the data owners to really be very confident that the data is used correctly, not just during transit, but actually when people are analyzing it and using it for certain purposes as promised. So that's really the crux of it. Why are we excited about it? We think this has huge applications in the fraud space. As I said, fraud is powerful, or our ability to detect fraud is really higher when we know or we have a great and rich data set. But many times institutions are unwilling to share their data set because they don't know how that data set will be used. So what Conclave allows companies who run fraud analytics and fraud detection platforms to give comfort to their customers that, you send me the data and this is why it's going to be used, and this is exactly how I'm going to use it, right? So that's what Conclave allows. Similarly, there are various market aggregation firms, think of credit bureaus and other data aggregators, and they can leverage this platform as well. So we see a lot of good applications of Conclave.
Right. The concept of, is it true the concept of confidential computing is new, and many businesses are not aware of it, they are not acquainted with it?
I think confidential computing as per se is not necessarily very new. I think the adoption of confidential computing at large scale has suffered from the ease of use of the existing technologies. So, even like if you think about Intel's technology, which we are using, I think that technology has existed for a few years. But it's a very, for many enterprises, it's not a technology which is very easy to use. So we are, in some sense, leveraging existing tech, which has been around for a little bit, but making it available to the masses, especially in certain scenarios where it's very powerful. So I think we'll see more and more application of confidential computing, especially, as I said, in this world, data is increasing. The risk on data is increasing as well. The cyber attacks are increasing. The abuse of data is increasing, and hence the need for solutions like Conclave will naturally increase. So I think we are coming to that phase where data is power, and making sure that we don't give our power away just because we are sharing for a common cause is where Conclave adds value, right? So that's what I feel.
Data is the key, of course. What are the applications? I mean, major applications, if you can share.
So I think, look, early for us, because we just recently launched the platform, but we are in conversations with a couple of different institutions. We can't publicly name them just yet, but one of the leading market aggregator firms globally, which works with almost all banks and all credit card companies globally, is using our technology to build a new powerful engine for fraud detection, right? And essentially, they are a market aggregator firm today, but they can now, with our technology, give their existing set of customers the comfort, the added comfort, in fact, that the use of their the data from the data owner is highly confidential, just for the purposes of fraud, right? So I think we see fraud is one. We are in conversations with various market analytics firms as well, right? Where again, the analytics is performed, business analytics or other analytics is performed on data collected from market participants. And many times when I share data, I'm not 100% sure if that data, when it's being used, it will be secure or not. So we think about that, and I think these firms are building the next version of their product on Conclave. And we'll see similar applications elsewhere across the globe.
Right. Great. Now, what are R3's plan for the next year, so let's say 2021 and in near future, in Indian market especially?
Yeah, so look, I think overall, globally speaking, R3 continues to expand. Just in the last year, we have almost grown by 50% despite the pandemic, right? So we continue to grow as an organization, and we think the incoming demand from our new and existing customers will fuel our growth even further. we have expanded the team both in India and globally accordingly. I think in India, we feel that given the ecosystem and both the public and private interest in emerging technologies like blockchain and confidential computing, we feel that there's a lot of runway here. BFSI will lead the charge in our view in India. I think they are the early adopters. But BFSI not just limited to banks, but also to payment companies. There's a discussion right now happening of new payment entities coming similar to NPCI, as we are all aware. So many of them are exploring how they should use platforms like Corda to really future-proof their what they will build once they get licenses, right? So we see payments being a critical area where R3 will play a big role. We believe there's a lot of innovation waiting to happen, and some already happening in the capital market space with the market infrastructure companies. So some of them are already working with us, and many more will. And I think that ecosystem also has to evolve. And finally, I would say the insurance and supply chain industries are a little bit behind the BFSI space from an overall perspective, but I think they're not far behind. So we are seeing use cases in supply chain in the pharma industry. We are seeing use cases in the logistics industry and so on. So I remain very, very bullish about our future in India, and we continue to invest in India from that perspective.
Great. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for any message you'd like to give to the technology heads in different BFSI institutions. If you want to say something.
If you're thinking blockchain, give us a call. But this is the future. This is what I think will really resolve a lot of your pain points in your multi-party workflows and computing and data sharing workflows and use cases. So we look forward to having discussions with many of your readers and viewers. But many of them are existing clients as well. So we thank them also for the work they're doing on our platform.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Amit Ghosh, Asia Pacific Head at R3, for taking time out for this interaction. And we are very glad to hear it from you and understand various advantages that blockchain technology and your software called Conclave, your application called Conclave, can we are glad that to understand more about the offering that you have and how it's going to change the BFSI domain. It will be an interesting thing to watch. So thank you so much for this. With this, we will close this interaction here formally, and we would of course be in touch with R3 to understand more on the future developments happening in the BFSI sector and within the organization.
Thank you, Harshal.
Thank you.